So I'm really curious, and I know that there won't be a set answer to what I want to ask, but what do you do with people?
It's always a good question. I always have to. It's always a different answer. I think.
Yeah.
Seems to me like I always something different
I get
comes
it'll
forth every
depend.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. That's a good question. I think many things happen basically through my own process. I've explored a lot of different avenues of expression. I started out studying how to be a seer,
Hmm.
and then I studied some psychos spiritual tradition called the Enneagram back in the late 80s, the late 70s actually.
Hmm.
And then I studied hypnotherapy and shamanism, and as I opened, my way of working with people opened. And then meditation became, I just knew I needed to go deeper within myself. That I had certain tools that I thought were good, and I didn't have to keep adding more tools to my toolbox in a sense. But what needed to happen was I needed to go deeper within myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I delved a lot into meditation and chanting and practice, devotional practices, very deeply into devotional practices. And and I've been, working with people for about 35 years now, long time. And with each deepening of myself, the work deepens with others, and the teachings deepen.
Hmm.
So oftentimes, my sight is there. Oftentimes, it's my voice. It's a holding container, in a sense, for people to fall deeper into themselves and to explore their own answers, their own sense of their deep commitment to their own unfolding, which I feel is such a very powerful part of the work. And it opens a way to feeling more fulfilled in a world that can look very unfulfilling and challenging. So within my expression and the container, the holding, um, people start having their own experiences in that way. Direct. I like to work with the words direct experience. I think it's the most empowering when we all retrieve our own answers, our own intuition flowers, our own sense of the innate spirituality that we all are flowers. I think basically that's what we're all looking for. Whether you use the word enlightenment or liberation, fulfillment, authentic actualization, it's about our own opening. It's like the fist that opens and relaxes and can experience life. The flower that is budding, and as we're maturing in life, it opens and opens. And then when we become very conscious about what we're doing, the flowering really happens. And for each individual, that flower will look very different. Very, very different. So it's not an experience where there's anything identical happening. It's an experience where everybody touches deeply into their own roots and allows that flowering to unfold. That's how I see it.
Mm. So you're bringing the hothouse.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Hmm.
A hothouse. What do we call it here?
Oh, we call it a greenhouse, but I thought...
Greenhouse. Yeah, we call it a greenhouse.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. It's the hot tub and the greenhouse.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, it's true. It is kind of like a greenhouse.
Hmm.
When you really think about what a greenhouse does, and it helps us move through delusions and concepts that are outdated and need to be let go, and any attachments that we're holding on to that keep us from fully knowing who we are as a being. Fully knowing. The conventions, social conventions that we can start stripping away and feeling safe about it. Feeling like, you got your feet on the ground as you're able to do this. So you find that which is truth for you. How truth looks for you. How truth looks to the individual. I think we can't bypass that word individual because we hold both of these. We know that we have a name, we know where we live, and our roles in life, and at the same time, we know that we are this greater being. And we actually can bring those two together. So it's not an and or an up and down. So we actually are able to walk with both.
Is that where your work goes? Or does it really depend? Lots of meditation practice just takes us to the infinite and the oneness with the universe and things like that. And I haven't been working with you for long, but that's not how I've experienced your work. But I feel it is rooted in the infinite in a way which I can't describe. How would you talk about that? Because everyone has their own word for meditation, or it means something different for everyone.
Yes, it's a big word. It's one of those big words. Volumes and volumes and books and books.
Where are we going with it?
I see that all of us hold the infinite. The cells in our body, organs, all that we are manifest from and have the same and have the infinite, the universe in every part of us. So when we look at meditation, we have to also bring in the body. We have to bring in the earth. We have to really, not bypass our emotions, but to bring that consciousness into the emotion, feelings. They're not like from another planet. They're part of the wholeness of who we are. So the meditation that I like to use is I invite deep relaxation into the whole being, the whole person. I mean, there are those meditations when it just focuses on, say, the upper centers, and you observe. You just observed, and I've studied those, and I've certainly learned how to see in that way. But I find through my own expression that when the energy moves all the way through and down and through my feet, and the earth becomes as much as my reality as the sky, then the devotion is devoted to everything. And that includes the devotion that you hold for who you are as a divine being incarnate. What I have in mind in this moment is a picture that I've carried around with me for really a long time, from India. So it had, the bright colors, and it was a man in a wagon with wheels, and he had the reins of the horses in his hands. And there was a huge Krishna behind him. And it felt like it was the different aspects of us. The higher part was right behind him. The very human being was sitting on the cart with this, holding the reins of the horses. Now, this human had all three centers. He was working with all three centers: the instincts, the human being, the compassionate person, the heart, the focus, and then he had the universe behind him in the form of Krishna in this particular image. And using the force from all of those, that wagon was on the road and on track. I like to think about that image often and the wisdom that's in it, as that we really need to work with all these parts of ourselves, and that we can work with them in meditation also. I mean, that's what yoga is, and Tai Chi and the martial arts, is that we're the body, mind, spirit in motion, working with it through our bodies. So I think it's all important, basically. So when I do give a talk, or the intensives that I hold, we work with the entire being. And then in the teachings that I've read a lot about and really have been the most influential on my mind is the teachings of Kashmir Shaivism, which means, and they say that you bring the enlightened mind all the way down into the marketplace. So there's no separation. That you are the conscious being in the world, operating in the world with family, with money, with work, with society. It was a very helpful teaching for me in my process. Because how can we really separate it? We're here, and if it's all one, then it's all one, no matter where it is or what manifestation it takes. Because I used to be, I have a lot of confusion about you're not your body. And I understand why that teaching exists. But then there comes a point where, well, why is it separate from my body? Does this body come from another planet? No. We're just so identified with it that teaching says you're not your body, so let go of the identification. But the energy that this body is the same energy that the universe is. But it was a contemplation for me for a long time. Just like the words authenticity. Well, what does that actually mean? what is authenticity? That I contemplated for a long time. I even had a radio program for a short time called The Quest for Authenticity. I was very interested in, because the mind can get in there and create all sorts of stories about it. But without the stories, just what is authenticity? Where does the authentic live? How do we operate from it? These were questions that I had to sit with for a very long time. And I feel in a certain way I still sit with, because it's always an ever-deepening process. Even if you've had you've had a lot of experiences and knowings, I feel that there's always something deeper unfolding. And in that way, we allow civilization to keep unfolding in a deeper way. We don't box it in as to a certain theological idea of things. We allow some breathing room in there. So when I work with people, I like to allow breathing room. Even though we're learning focus, we're learning how to use awareness, exactly what is awareness. We also have to be able to allow for a deeper unfolding, because we all learn from it. Keeps the rigidity out of it, I feel.
Sure. If I could characterize your the online group work that I've seen from you, as opposed to individual one-on-one sessions, is that you take us to the place of deeper unfolding, which isn't very comfortable for me.
No, I didn't say it was going to be comfortable. No, it's not. Yeah. Because we meet parts of ourselves that have been very satisfied with staying under the covers, in a sense. Or just not being recognized. But if it's done in a way where there's a lot of breath there, grounding, then what's there to be revealed makes its way to the surface in a way that feels safe.
Something I've found remarkable about both your groups and private sessions is that you can ground people. I've not experienced that with other teachers, but the energetic container you hold, or the energy work you do long distance, or whatever it is, it has a palpable effect, and I feel it in my body, and that's not something I experience often. I have a bit of difficulty with grounding myself. What you do with people, it's not conceptual. It's real and it's alive, and there's something you're doing other than just having people sit down in the chair together and giving a bit of instruction. There's I'm not sure how to describe it. It's something mystical happening, something energetic, something real that's happening beyond the surface of an assembly.
And I think that's what we've been talking about. In a certain way, I feel like I'm not doing anything. Like there's no technique that I'm using. It's the universe itself basically, and it really is in everything. So you feel it in your body. You it brings you into a different relationship with your body. It's not a struggle. Like for some people, it's a struggle with grounding. We're all the same. For some people, they're very grounded. It's more of a struggle to like open up the crown. They have a little harder time. But through the realization that that universe is in every part of us, grounding unfolds as your body's welcomed in. You're not like trying to just pull yourself down. It's like an enlivening experience through the body. We're maybe walking around in our everyday life, we feel, some people feel safer being up. They feel safer that way. The earth doesn't always feel so naturally so safe. But when you invite the experience of enlightenment or awareness, I like to use the word awareness because we all are pure awareness. When we invite the experience of awareness into every part of us, the body does become enlivened, and we experience it as grounding. We experience the earth as being alive. We know it conceptually. But when we can know it through our body that these bones are like the earth, and the earth is not from another planet. It has its own consciousness, and it's the universe. And when the invitation is there, it all becomes enlivened. We don't experience ourselves in such an up-down way. Upper torso, lower torso. I'm more comfortable up here, or I'm more comfortable down, lower parts of my body. We embrace it all. Through that embrace, I feel that our connection with humanity becomes embraced. Because once we accept it in ourselves, we accept it in others. So there's more of an energetic relationship with humanity, besides the conceptual knowing. It's through the body, which we sometimes, when we grow up, it's like their body, my body, and through the invitation that it's all consciousness, it's all the same breath in a way, it opens us up to the universal humanity, our brothers and sisters. I think it's harder for that to actually become something known until we've done it in ourselves. There's less of the opportunity for estrangement from humanity.
Sounds like this is a healing for the state of the world at the moment, the human world.
Yes. Yes, it's a big opportunity, isn't it, for us all to take a look at what we hold within ourselves, fears, and how that gets projected. So I think when we include the wholeness of us, really helps with those projections. We can do it, but we'll see what we're doing. We'll catch it. Oh, I must feel like my body's threatened. My life is threatened in some way, so I've just projected this out. if we can stop and catch it, we can like stop it. And of course, in the expression, the unfolding of it, the heart matures. And we're working a lot with basically probably all the practices that can be done, which there's so many. The maturing of the human heart, the maturing of society, culture, the maturing of how we see spirituality. It's a maturing process. It's a global maturing process, which we're never quite sure what end of the spectrum the whole world is on. But when we look at it within ourselves, there is a deep maturing process happening. So when we can sink into ourselves all the way in, I think we become aware of it. And that's the more the authentic feeling. Authenticity is oftentimes experienced as through intuition of the feelings, the knowing of feelings, deep feelings. But there is, when we can fall deeply in like that, it's a maturing.
It sounds like meditation, or the kind of meditation that you hold the space for, give space for maturing.
Yes. I think, when I first started, I had a very undisciplined mind, a monkey mind, like crazy. I had been reading many for years, and I came through the 60s, so there was a lot of experimentation. But it wasn't until about 1979 that I actually started sitting with people who were focused. And then I realized what a mess my mind was. I was everywhere. And it took such a long time to learn about awareness and how to stay with awareness. And without judging myself, but allowing the maturing process to happen. Instead of the child, I want this, I want that, let's go over here, let's go over there. But it was actually maturing. And then over the years, I started to realize that meditation was really an act of self-love. That when I would, and I include contemplation in that and chanting. But I like to contemplate, sit and contemplate. That it became such a pleasurable part of my day. But it didn't start out that way. It became you need to focus here, you need to try to sit here, you need to read this book and contemplate it, not just read it and put it on, look for another one. It was a maturing, a honing in. And at the same time, a certain expanding happens at the same time. So your whole field, energy field, starts awakening. And there's a reason why it takes a period of time, because you're letting go of a lot of old ideas and concepts and learning new ones, and your body is healing and expanding. You're learning how to just what does this state of enlightenment even mean? It changes, I think, as we mature. It meant something like those people had something and I didn't. They were great, great people. I want that. It's like the kid grasping for the golden ring. I want that. Surely when I get that, everything will be perfect. I won't suffer. I won't feel the need for anything. Surely that's the answer. That's how it was when I first started. So I think, through the maturing process, we learn many, many things. So staying on the path and just allowing it to, and staying focused and allowing the great intelligence of the universe to lead you. It's an amazingly intelligent, hard to find a word for the universe that seems fitting. It is intelligence itself. And since we are the universe, then we are also that intelligence. And we keep allowing it to unfold in our life. You see how I'm working? I'm letting go of the separating points, the I'm here, that's here. We keep redefining the ways that the mind compartmentalizes. Just keep redefining it and letting it go until we're in a very deep part of ourselves. We have deep intimacy with ourselves. Then we experience deep intimacy with others and what we call the outer world, or the world of objects, or the world of other people. All of a sudden, we're having very intimate moments everywhere. Fulfilled moments. When I say intimate moments, deeply fulfilled conversations and smiles, and even our tears and griefs and sadnesses, which just naturally wells up and moves through, can feel deeply intimate. Thank you for that breath.
It was a breath that came from thinking, should I ask some questions that are interviewee questions? Then no.
Just breathe.
Yeah.
What I love so much about the work, I still call it the work. It's a word that I learned very early in the 70s. It's a word that I think Gurdjieff started using. Is that we are amazingly creative beings. And you could say we're all the same being, creative being. But if you look at it from, say, more the personal part of us, we say amazingly creative beings. And the great unfolding of the universe and its creative forms moves through us all the time. If we allow ourselves to be relaxed, we feel that. And then that authenticity presents itself. Sometimes you have to pause and just wait. Living in the Western world, we're not really taught too much to pause and wait for the next wave of speaking or a question or silence, but we just wait. And maybe it'll come through your vocal cords. Maybe it'll come through mine. If we wait, it will be said.
is this meditation.
Yes. And here we are. We're here.
It's not so hard.
It's not hard at all. It's natural. Meditation is natural. You think about some meditation points that I found to be very useful, where, watching a bird glide through the sky, there's no thinking involved with that bird. It's instinctually doing what it does. So when we watch it, it takes us into an energetic of just doing what we're naturally doing, so it can bring us to our breath. Another one is a horizon line. We're looking out at the ocean. Before the mind grasps a cloud, and oh, look at that cloud, and what a pretty cloud. Before the mind grasps that, you're in a state of meditation. That's why people love to go to places where there's vistas, and they gaze. It takes them into a natural state. It's natural. It's unnatural for us to be so busy. It's natural for us to find those pauses. Sometimes nothing wants to be said. Gives us an opportunity for natural inspiration. Sometimes we're like at an angst. I'm not inspired. I'm needing some inspiration. So we're like very focused on it, and it keeps us away from it. We have to really leave some room for inspiration. Leave room for it.
Who do you welcome, Amita? Who should come and who shouldn't come?
Say that again.
Who do you welcome?
Anyone who feels inspired to come. If you remember when you first put your foot on a path, or you didn't know why you exactly wanted to go to a workshop or read a book, but you did, and so you went. And oftentimes something completely different happens than the motivation was. So I feel if there's motivation, if there's I wonder what this is. People feel drawn, then they're welcome. It's always wonderful when different people come, because they bring their own hearts and how universe operates through them. Some people say how God operates through them, or how Buddha operates through them, or Rumi. We don't know the deep inspiration oftentimes that's there. And so sometimes we're drawn even into a bookstore and pick up a book that we never even thought that we would want such a book, but it opens the door to something. It opens these doors. The evening talk is inspired a lot by people who come. And it's a talk generally like I'm speaking now, only it'll come from a place that is fitting for the people who are there. And then sitting in silence. The one-day intensives are focused around 3 to 4 longer meditations. And there's group sharing, question and answers. And oftentimes I teach from the questions that are asked. Because I find that those questions are, oftentimes better than anything I could have thought about that should be taught. Because they're fresh, they come from the people who are there. And so I teach oftentimes from the questions that people ask. And it's one day, so it's not such a big chunk out of anyone's life. It's 7 hours, time breaks and time for a lunch. And the last part of it is integrating meditation. I like the one-day format for people. And they have a day to integrate and be silent with themselves or their family, or however their life is structured. Any questions?
I feel excited and also apprehensive about your upcoming London events. I feel my mind worries about the spaciousness of like plunging hot coal into water or something like that.
Well, I find that it's pretty generally we kind of enter it through the meditations. So each one is we go a little bit deeper. So the first one, it's not always such a plunge. It is for some people, but there's a progression to it. And oftentimes it's just 3. I always am hoping for 4. But if there's a lot of questions and answers, then we just do 3, but always 3. And I always have the door open for the 4th. So, apprehension is good. I think it says something. It says, well, I don't know what's going to happen. And it's true.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen. We don't. And partially why we go into deeper states within ourselves is that we can we can live with that. I don't know what's going to happen. We can let go of some of our coping mechanisms and defense mechanisms. So we can be a little bit, we can be steadier with, I don't know what's going to happen. We find the deep resources within our nature that are naturally there. I mean, in a certain way, I don't know what's going to happen either. But it's based on many, many years of watching some beautiful openings and unfoldings and blossomings, and it's wonderful to be able to be part of it. I have to tell you, to be part of that discovery, everyone's discovery. Journey through discovery. And we're all there with each other too, so there is that certain, even though it's very deeply within each one of us, there we are sitting next to someone in their unfolding, in their discovery. Another brother, sister, the human experience that's unfolding. There's, I find it deeply devotional. Like I bow to everyone's devotion to their path. No, it's another way I like to look at it is the ongoing conversation between the individual and the deep self. You can look at it from the student and the teacher, but you can also see that within the universal experience within yourself. You're the teacher and you're the student within your own self. So oftentimes we start out with a devotion to another or to a set of principles or teachings. And then through the years, we realize that we become very devoted to everything. It opens us up to something beyond words with devotion. Like we'd be devoted to humanity and the rise of humanity. You know, we really broaden out that experience of devotion. We start out one place and it's a very big doorway. We also become devoted to our own experience. Not in a narcissistic way, but in like a deepening way. We want everyone to live with food and shelter and warmth, education. We become devoted to those concepts, those ideas, those enlightened ideas. We pranam to them, we namaste to them. We want that. It's part of the maturing process.
Yeah. I feel less scared about the workshop now.
Good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to you being there.
Me too.
Looking forward to the opportunity to be in London in this way, teaching.
I also think you're my first teacher where it's just presence and awareness rather than shamanism, ancestral healing, energy healing, body psychotherapy. I really like that. Just being.
It's great.
Yeah.
Just being. And you bring a lot of wonderful people to London. You do. London's fortunate that, because in a certain sense, in all those different traditions and ways, the ultimate is people learn how to be with being, or just be with who they are authentically. They're just different doorways.
Sure.
Yeah. Different expressions.
Well, I want to say thank you, Amita.
Thank you, Justin.
Is there anything else you would like to say before we close?
No, I'm looking forward to coming, and I hope that, I think I feel honored to be able to come to London to work. Looking forward to meeting people, and then the London people will have something to teach me too. I always feel that there's both give and take are happening at the same time. I might be up there as the teacher, but I'm also receiving at the same time. So it's I'm looking forward to it. The adventure, the exploration.